I'll give a couple. It's just 10:30. We'll start probably, it's 10:31. I'll start giving you guys a little background on why I thought about this and how come I invited people to this. I First I want to say that people in this, if you're in the United States, if you hear this outside the United States, Carter G. Woodson actually started Black History Month. And what he was trying to do is, because school systems like school systems today are trying to omit certain parts of history, he's trying to bring a group of people that had no idea who they were information. And it has grown to be a space where information is shared. And I'm 59 years old, and I've been studying and looking at African-American history for all my life, pretty much. And I was like, I know everybody knows about the people from the past. And I was like, what would it be like to bring people into a space with people that you don't know, that are around you, that are doing things around the planet? And so I thought about people that have impacted my life. And I've had dynamic conversations with these brothers and sisters, and I wanted to share that with the planet so that people can see living history, people that are doing things that make me go, like, wow. People have said things in meetings with me, and give you a background of people. Alex and I worked together in Multnomah County. He worked on the adult side, and he still works on the adult side, and I work on the juvenile side. And we've been in meetings before, and we were going to do a podcast for the county, but Multnomah County decided not to do it because they didn't want to talk out against certain, I guess I'm gonna let Alex talk about it, certain aspects or certain conditions or certain ideas that we thought. And so he called me one night. He said, man, I ain't doing this no more. And I was like, and I left the desk committee, which was a committee that was supposed to address certain aspects of equity in the community and in the county. And so but we were together on a lot of things. So when he would say things in meetings, it would just hit me and impact me. And then my relationship as a friend grew with him from there. And so I wanted to bring that aspect of some of the things that we share, and about consciousness, because I always talk about consciousness, and I know consciousness to be universal and not just this one concept. And that was the ties I had with everybody about, even though none of my friends that I've invited are part of Access, but they are doing consciousness on their own. Vanessa is the person I've known the longest out of everybody that's going to be participating. It's really Vanessa, like my sister. Our kids were raised together. I've been knowing her forever. It's like she's one of those individuals that when I think about something, she calls me, reach out and say, hey, where are you with this? And, so in Access, they talk about humanoid. This is the biggest humanoid. If you see her house, the way she does her business, everything, her humanoid about not living in a box, of not following rules. Well, I see a reflection of everybody that I'm asking to be a part of this. And Vanessa's like one of those huge reflections, that woo-woo shit that people don't like to talk about. Well, you're going to hear a bunch of woo-woo stuff from these two individuals, but on a different accord. And I appreciate people being here, and thank you for spending time with us. I have just a couple of rules for this dialogue. You can ask any questions, nothing stupid at all. We don't have to answer if we don't feel comfortable. Nobody's obligated. Vanessa asked me, do we have to answer certain things? So I'll say no. But my one rule is kindness. That's pretty much the bottom line. Kindness, meaning that Bob Marley has a line in one of his songs, says, speak happiness because it's sad enough without your woes. And kindness allows you to say something. And we might say things that you might not agree with necessarily. And how can this actually, a dialogue, start another process of letting go of how we walk through this world? Demetrius is on here, but she's the next week. Y'all see Demetrius next week with us again. So I'm glad she's here though. But let's see, who would like to start? Alex or Vanessa? Who should I pick on first?
Well, you want as the intro?
Yeah, your intro, please. Yes.
Well, my name is Alex, Alex Jones. That's my real name. A lot of people don't believe that's my real name for whatever reason. If you haven't heard about the conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, a lot of people like to associate me with that guy. So do not Google my name because you're gonna have some stuff attached to your search engine after that. It would not be me, I can promise you that. But I'm here. I'm a 14-year Air Force military veteran, military police. Got out, moved out to DC, been all over the world actually. But when I got out, I moved to DC. I'm kind of doing this in a nutshell. Hated the DC lifestyle. The cost of living and the commuting was just way too much for me. So I decided to leave there. Long story short, I ended up here in the Northwest, and I'm probably gonna move again. I'm probably gonna move again. But I spent some time in Multnomah County as a parole and probation officer as well, and also as what we call survival skills instructors. I also own my own business here in Vancouver, Washington, called Jones Firearms Coaching. And I also run another business that's called Jones Strategic Consulting, where I consult business to business on workplace violence, conflict resolution, basic self-defense, those types of things as well. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me here, John. I can't wait kind of start this conversation, bro. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for being here.
Wow. All right. My name is Vanessa White, and I'm a true born Oregonian. A little bit about me. I like to hang out in cemeteries, okay? I like to hang out in cemeteries. My favorite cemetery is Lone Fir over on Stark, like 24th and Stark. And I've always been drawn to that cemetery, and I never knew why. I used to go and picnic there and just kind of, just walk around and read the headstones. Well, years later, I was given a box, and inside this box was a Bible, and inside this Bible was some very old documents. And from that document, I did basically digging from that one document, and I discovered that my ancestors were Portland, Oregon pioneers. They arrived here in 1864. And I also discovered that they were buried in that same cemetery that I was drawn to, magnetically drawn to, energetically drawn to. And even in the area of the cemetery where I used to walk is where this particular ancestor was buried. And so I have a strong connection to Oregon, which is why I have not left Oregon. I love this city. I love this place. I love the history here. I love my history here. It's so rich. With all that being said, I'm an amazing mother of 5, grandparent or queenie to 2. I have a business, Rooted to Spirit, which I just launched as I closed down a 7-year business of skincare line and hair care products under the name of Just Be Natural. Spirit asked me to shut that down and to start a Rooted to Spirit, and that's been going well. It's rolling out. I do mediumship readings. I do tarot. I'm a tarot coach. So yeah, and I host other activities and workshops and whatnot in classes. So I've been knowing John for many years, and this is a blessing to be able to host on this site. So thank you all for showing up today.
Thank you. Okay, let's just jump right on in. And we can go any place, y'all. We can go any place with this. But the first question I got is for my 2 guests. How do you define consciousness for you?
Vanessa, since you went last, you can go first, yeah?
Okay, so mine's going to be in a nutshell. For me, consciousness is, the most simplistic way I can break it down is consciousness is an awareness of the things that are not necessarily seen and heard. To me, that is consciousness. Because we rely so much on our physical senses to create our reality, right? We rely on what we see in the news or what we hear on, what not. And so, and then the things that we touch and feel, right? And how they make us feel. We rely on those things for constructing our reality, because regardless if we believe it or not, we each are constructing our own reality. So the reality you're living in right now it's been created by none other than yourself. So and for me, consciousness is going beyond that, going beyond just our 5 senses, right? Our taste, our see, our touch, our smell, what we can hear, audio, going beyond that and tapping into, for me, what spirit has to reveal to us. So consciousness is going beyond the top layer of what we can see in this reality. Ashe.
Word, I like that. I like that. I guess kind of like, well, if I define it, for me, it's creator. That's the first thing comes to mind. When we talk about the five senses, me and John, we've talked about the five senses a lot, and how you say going beyond that, right? I guess I don't want to get too deep, but
No, go ahead.
when
No,
we,
go
when
deep.
we
Go
look
deep.
at
Go deep.
when we talk about consciousness being beyond that, honestly, sometimes I feel like I can't define consciousness because it's infinite, right? So consciousness is so infinite. It's an energy that it doesn't stop. You know what I mean? Like, some people think about, when you leave this physical plane that we're in right now, where does the consciousness go, right? Because we believe the consciousness exists, that energy does exist. And to be honest, it's so infinite that I can't even describe it. I can't even explain it. I mean, as a human, I know, John, you're probably gonna rebut this, but as a human being, we do have limitations, right? So we can feel and see consciousness in our senses, like Vanessa said. But beyond that, there's something so much greater that, eventually we got to get off the bus. We can't even describe it. It's like, man, I don't, just like looking out in the universe, we know we're in the Milky Way galaxy. But when NASA looks out, they see billions of other galaxies. It's like, when does it stop? So I don't know if I can really define consciousness, in a physical way. It just seems, all I can say is it's infinite, man. It's very infinite.
So here's the piece of what I guess I'll add on to that with the consciousness. I agree with everything you guys are saying. See, the cool thing about consciousness, it doesn't care what you think. Consciousness is, I mean, and it gets rid of your significance because of when Alex's example of your one swirl, I say it again, one swirl in the Milky Way compared to how many other billions of swirls, and at the same time, you're part of that swirl of being part of that consciousness, which makes it a wild ride for me. That wild ride of being able to live undefinably is, we were talking about this in the class this morning about limitations. Consciousness allows you to get rid of the limitations. This reality tries to pump you full of limitations. And the greatest way of doing that to me is when they add fear into things to make you stop, and it increases your limitations and everything from healing to creating to money to relationship. I think it stops that. And consciousness is the way out of limitations to me. Because go ahead, Alex. He was gonna say
we've talked about that.
Yeah.
That consciousness, and how, like, we look at the world. Sometimes we say the world, some of the world is unconscious, Yeah. And we talk about, like Dick Gregory said, once you put those glasses on, there's no change. You can't give them to nobody else, type of thing.
Right.
I kind of feel that way when it comes to consciousness. We know the people that are, I would say, actively conscious. Those are the people who, in my opinion, my belief, sometimes suffer the most, because they are very conscious of what's going on. The conscious is connected to the spirit, and they suffer the most. People who are unconscious or maybe not as aware, like Vanessa would say, they kind of go along and they blend in with the, how can I describe it? The low self, basically, right? Whatever the low self is, they just run with it. But when someone tries to obtain that consciousness and they try to, rise above that, they suffer the most, because that is the journey, right? That is the journey. You're going to suffer on that journey no matter what. The more you try to attain to a higher consciousness, you're going to always suffer. The more you stay on the low, you're not going to suffer because you're just part of that lowliness, right?
So I guess I got a question to that. So
go ahead.
And I'll say this to the group. So what part of that is okay? So I don't want to jump in. So yes, I'll talk about this now. So what part of, and so here's when I'm gonna go really woo-woo on you all. Okay.
Can you describe what woo-woo mean? Because I don't know.
Okay.
What
so
the hell
when
is
I say
woo-woo?
woo-woo, For me, woo-woo is that shit that people look at when the unbelievable, the undescribable, the impossible, the stuff that is said but not proven in this reality.
Okay, gotcha. Understood.
So for me, I started magic. Tori says the magic. So I use magic a lot of time when I say woo. I use that and to explain. And the reason I say that is that there was a program, a movie that I watched years ago called Demolition Man. It was out way before Matrix, the movie The Matrix, I believe. And in the process of that movie, Wesley Snipes and Sylvester Stallone Wesley Snipes was a criminal, Sylvester Stallone was a police, and were frozen, and they were released, and they were programmed. And Wesley Snipes got out, and he wanted to kill the people who brought him out because they were actually mean and not following the law or whatever. And he couldn't shoot them because the programming wouldn't allow him to turn the gun on the people who made him. And I sometimes sense, this is just my observation, I don't have any physical proof of this, is that sometimes this whole thing of suffering is, what if people just haven't asked a question to get outside of that? Because the programming is that this is the programming. You can't go above this programming. It's like, is there anything above the 13th floor in a building? Well, nobody's ever gone to try to see if it's the 14th floor. So yes, they've been told it's the 13th floor, so they stop. So the reason I say the magic, the woo of it all, is that in consciousness for me, it's like, well, does it have to be that way? And because you ask a question, then now does it change that dynamic just because you asked the question? How many things did we know at one time? Like, here's the crazy thing. In the beginning, the earth was flat. Now, then it was round. And now there's some people talking about it's a plane, it's flat again. And so the question with it is that, is it both or is it different? I don't know, but I know that as we ask questions, is that a possibility of expanding what we think is one thing, getting outside the programming? That's the biggest piece of the consciousness brings that I also think, and the woo about it, that people like, they don't want to go out of that because they can't go outside, and I don't want to step on any toes, but I might, so brace yourself. Sometimes going outside of consciousness, you go outside of your religion, you go outside of your culture, you go outside of the norms of what you have, and that makes people around you uncomfortable. And in the process, they don't know what to do with that, because a lot of times people don't know what to do with it because they don't want you to be ostracized, or they don't know how to relate with you outside of that space. So I'm not sure. You know, I do hear what my brother Alex saying about people suffer, but is there another possibility? And is it truly suffering? And I hear some hair, y'all. I'm sorry. I don't
even want to say suffering.
Yeah.
Vanessa, do you have anything?
I do. Thank you, Alex. So I get what you're saying completely. So going back, so yes, suffering. Let me write that down. Suffering. Okay. So John also said, he said something. What did he say? He said, I can't remember what you said. So let's go back to suffering. But so yes, consciousness does not judge. Oh, you said consciousness does not give a fuck. That's not what you said, but I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
You say it doesn't care about you or your feelings.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, consciousness does not judge. It does not separate, because judgment is to cause separation, okay? Mm-hmm. So if there's no separation, there's no judgment, which is where we are on this plane, right? On this 3D level, we dwell within judgment and separation. That's how we operate here, especially in the United States. But as Alex is saying, once you put the glasses on and you can see things from another perspective, a deeper perspective with consciousness, yes, your vibration does start to elevate. And as you elevate, it is very lonely up there. It's very lonely up there, and it's very isolating. And the suffering that he's probably referring to is that state of isolation. Who can I talk to about this? Who can I share my experience with? This thing just happened, and I can't tell my mom, I can't tell my brother, I can't tell my neighbor, I can't tell my best friend, because they're not going to understand. They're not going to get it. They're going to think I'm crazy. And if I share too much, I'm going to be in a mental hospital. I'm going to get locked up if I share too much. Okay. And so, yes. Ashe. And so And so that's that part of suffering I believe that he is referring to. But I do want to counteract that there is suffering down here. There's also suffering down here because there is a state of sleepiness. Like, you ever try to go to work and you're too tired to go to work, you're just too sleepy, you don't get shit done. And the same thing with living in a 3D. We're in a state of sleepiness. We want to wake up, we want something greater, we want something more, but we don't know how to obtain it. That is suffering. So yes, I agree. I definitely resonate with what he's saying. But John, you're saying what else is possible? That's next level. That's next level conversation.
Yeah.
Everyone's not there, especially.
But because everybody's not there, what happens though? In the past, I would have shut down and be like, okay, well, people aren't there, so I'm gonna stay with them. I'm saying that what about being the invitation?
Absolutely.
For example, let's go to your business we talked about. So you do tarot. Excellent. If y'all don't have had a chance, if you want to get a reading, excellent person to get a tarot reading from. There's certain people that won't talk to you because of their cultural or religious background, which says that this is too far outside of the box, but it might give them some information to even help get beyond where they are, but they don't go there because they can't. I don't think they can't. I think they don't choose it because of the implied fears that come along with that.
Can I share a story? I'll promise to make it short.
Oh no, go ahead. You got it. Go ahead.
One of the reasons, this is crazy too. So I used to be a Christian, okay? Let's back that up. I was Christian for 20 years. And I was sitting in Bible study one day, and this woman in Bible study, she lost her sister, and she's grieving, she's sad. And I'm thinking, why are we doing it? We're not doing enough to support this woman? She lost her sister. We're not doing enough. She is one of the core reasons why I started learning tarot. Because I said, I want to help her heal. And then I got so deep into it that and so then I left the church and, whatever. Now this woman is, she's very high up in the Christian religion, and she would never get a tarot reading from me. Never, okay? Never, ever, 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 ever. Okay, I wouldn't even approach her with it because I'd probably get a spiritual slap from her. This would not work. So fast forward to me, embracing my new talent, skill set, and the ability to connect with spirits on the other side through my readings. Tarot is just a tool. Okay, I give this particular woman a reading. Okay, and she says, my mom passed, and is there a way you can reach out, try to connect with my mom? I said, well, we can definitely give it a try. And so we did, and we connected with this woman's mother, and I was able to give this client some healing messages. But the irony and the whole thing is that this woman's mother is the sister of the woman that I had in Bible study. So it's all connected. Right? I wanted to help her heal. However, I was not able to connect with her for her healing because she's not ready for it. But I was able to reach that spirit's daughter on this side and deliver a level of healing for her daughter. It may not have gone through to her sister. So what you're saying is absolutely on point. I didn't stop my journey because I knew I was going to be shunned by the church. I carried on. And and it's still the things that I wanted to do, the desire that I had for a particular situation with this woman and her sister, it still came to pass. It just came in another form, another way, through another route, through another person. Now, do you think that daughter shared that information with her aunt? Of course she did.
Yeah.
Of course she did. So it all comes back around. And I'm saying that to say this: if you're on a journey in life and it's so outlandish, it's so far-fetched, it's so far away from your culture, from how you were raised, your belief system, and you're second guessing, should I do this? Should I do this? This is so far away. I'm going to be judged so badly. I'm not going to get the respect or the whatever that I'm trying to gain because of my background and my culture, my family. Don't stop, because spirit will make a way for you to connect with those that need your connection, regardless of their belief system, regardless of their culture, regardless of their background. Don't stop. Ashe.
I think that was good. That was good. You know, I think intention has a lot to do with it. But I think when you look at for every human has a, you know, like an inherent right to kind of focus on their own journey, right? So we got to look at it both ways too. Like, you know, you may have a Christian person who wants to get their message out, right? And they think this is the absolute, and they don't, you know, and people on the outside may be like, you know, I ain't really with this. That's too far in the box for me. And it may be vice versa, right? How we think about it. So quick story, John knows this. I'm Muslim, and my wife, she's not Muslim. And, you know, when we met, I was a Christian, right? And we met almost 12 years ago, I was a Christian. And she's into tarot and, you know, crystals, all this stuff, right? And I was like, man, I ain't really with all that, right? Like, I'm just like totally just trying to get it out. I'm not worried about it. I don't want to have the conversations. And anyways, I ended up reverting to Islam. And it's crazy because it brought us so close together because we were speaking the same language just in a different way, right? Now when she talks about the celestial beings and all that stuff, it's way more interesting to me now than it's ever been, right? Because it's not so much of a, how can I explain it, John? It's not so much of a, I guess you could say, yeah, it's like putting a lid on, you know, at first I had a lid on my little brain, you know what I mean? Like, but now I know that the universe, the creator, everything is all connected, like Vanessa said, like every single thing is connected. So who knows, maybe that was a way for the creator to get me to get closer to my wife. It may not have been the same as what she believes, but now we have, you know, deep conversations about these kinds of things. And I don't judge her. Now, when we talk about tarot, this is good because I'm being vulnerable here, right? My wife, she's in the tarot, right? And actually she's getting a reading probably an hour ago. She was getting a reading. So I had to come in my office. She kicked me out the house. But she's getting her reading, and she sometimes, you know, messes with the cards. And I've never gotten a reading from her. And she's asked me before, and you know, she says, you know, can I read your card? I say, nah. And she always asks me why. And I simply say, that's your thing. This is mine. Right. And there's never any argument about it. Like, hey, you should try. We kind of just let that be. And that goes back to what I say, like every human kind of have their own individual right to their own journey. So once we understand that, I think it could be a better place, but sometimes even in our elevated consciousness, we still want to put people in other boxes sometimes. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I just thought I'll share that.
Yeah. And that's the cool thing about consciousness. You don't have to judge anybody. You know, when I like I said, when I since I've been on this, I've always been on this there was a program that I did called Save Our Youth. Demetrius and Vanessa was part of it. And Tori's part of that when we did that. And I always felt like what Alex is saying is that in consciousness, what if you could allow people to move at their own speed and nobody, and at this point in my venture in life, I really am getting away from right and wrong and good and bad. I don't know if that's true or not. I think that that's an earth concept. You know, how they try to say a good storm or a bad storm. A storm is a storm. A choice is a choice. Out of the choice has different outcomes, but it's still a choice. You know, and it goes so, and the more reading and more studying I do, I even find out that in certain ancient cultures, you chose your parents before you got there. And if that's ever true, then you decided to participate in whatever was going to happen with them. Because if you start to really look at it, there's a lot of different sciences begin to say that what is this thing after death? You know, what happens after death? So that's one of the things. But so I want to bring in something different that I didn't mention to you guys. Is any questions from people listening? Any questions? Nothing? Demetrius, you had something? Okay, so I have some other questions, but this is other thing that I wanted to ask, because I'm asked every day that we do this. How many people have seen Black Panther? The movie Black Panther. You have a concept of the movie Black Panther with the Disney or the Avengers Black Panther. Okay. I was watching that, and what's the rapper that everybody has? His dad was part of the Black Panther Party, Ye. And it was something that Ye was talking about, Kanye West, about how we've made a cartoon. In the cartoon, they were trying to describe the Black Panther Party, and they did it in this cartoon. And then people went crazy about watching the Black Panther movie, Wakanda Forever, and that piece, and not looking at the strength that they already are, and what's the truths that the people have to make a cartoon and make light of. That was the background. But there was this item and this is going to be kind of a funny question. So it's this item that they found in the movie called vibranium. Vibranium is what they made Captain America's shield out of, and it came from the deep forests or the jungles of Africa. And vibranium is the strongest element in the universe that we know, that they know of. And the Black Panther's suit was made out of it. And the question I guess I have for my guests, what is your vibranium? What is the strongest thing that you have? The vibranium, so vibranium is this made up item in this movie, but there's majority of the diamonds on planet Earth come from the depths of Africa. So a lot of diamonds are pulled out of Africa. There's a lot of things where the cell phone is pulled out of Africa, and it's in the core. And I'm gonna back up. So this is where I'm gonna go back to a song that was from Bob Marley's band. So I'm jumping around here. I want to go back to this vibranium. If you actually have science look at you, every individual has African DNA in them, because the origins of people come from that continent. I didn't make that up. Dr. Leakey, I think, was one of the first scientists found that out. And so there's a oneness that we're in denial of. But I guess for my guests to share, what is the vibranium? What is the vibranium? Is this what is your strength that hasn't been, that you would like people to know of, that is at your core? What's in the depths of who you are, that vibranium shield of power? Does that question make sense?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
What's our
Vanessa,
superpower?
Yeah,
Yeah.
your superpower.
Vanessa, you want to go or you want me to go?
And I'm thinking about all the things that I have created over the course of my life. What was at the base of that? And I have to say intention. Intention. And you can't get to intention unless you first have crossed the line of clarity. So, and you can't get to clarity unless you first have crossed the line of inner knowing, right? And you can't get to inner knowing unless you've crossed the line of acceptance. And you can't get to acceptance unless you've crossed the threshold of love. So I guess my answer is going to be, as I trickle back, love. Love is at the core. Because from love, I know myself, and I know my inner self. I know my inner being. I'm in love with me. Okay. And then from knowing myself, I can have clarity about the things that I desire and the things I don't desire, and clarity about what I'm allowing to come into my reality and what I'm blocking from coming into my reality. I have clarity on that. And once I have clarity on that, then I can place my intentions and create the things that I want, the things that I desire to have. And I can also intentionally block the things that I no longer desire. Ashe.
Alex, your mic's off, I think.
Sorry, man, my bad. So thank you for that, Vanessa. Mine's pretty simple. What is it? Vibranium
Yeah.
Might sound crazy, but it's my mortality. The knowing that I'm not immortal as a human, right? But knowing that I have to leave this particular plane and I'm going to go somewhere else, that is my vibranium. That makes me make all the decisions that I make in life it completely knocks down all fear of anything. Like knowing that this is like a spacesuit, like we talked about, right? My
Yeah.
grandmother said it's a spacesuit. When you go out to Mars, you got to have on one of them spacesuit, right? So when I come to Earth, I got it on, I'm in this body. This is my spacesuit. So knowing that I can't leave this place, that's like, for me, that's my vibranium. That's what keeps me like, I can make any decision. I've jumped off all kinds of cliffs in my life, not literally, but leaving jobs, pursuing opportunities, like with no fear, knowing that if I was to leave this particular plane today, everything around would stay the same, right? So I pursue those opportunities. That's what gives me like my most strength, is the reflection of my mortality. That's my vibranium.
Thank you. Thank you. There's a question, Tori, but question is, who do you put? Or is it the question is, who do you? Okay.
What's your vibranium, John?
Oh, okay. Okay. You know, my vibranium. Wow. First I was gonna say I don't know, but I could hear somebody in the back saying, "Shut the fuck up with that." I don't know. Alex and I have had that conversation about this being a spacesuit. I guess my knowing, I've always known shit, and I'm getting used to knowing stuff and things not being present. But I know that there's certain things. Not being satisfied is my vibranium. I'm not satisfied with the status quo of anything. When Alex says that the universe has multiple galaxies out there, well, I'm hungry for that. The way I look at living in life, like studying homeopathy, I'm not settling for Western medicine. When I hear certain things, I don't buy off into things just because they say it. When you tell me, for example, in my family and some people that were close friends of mine, when this whole thing came out with COVID, I'm always the cat that's looking outside. Like, my name is John. My friends call me Johnny. I'm little Johnny, the little Johnny in the classroom. Like, ooh, pick me, because I'm not going to say the thing that's going to be fucking safe. I'm going to ask a question. I don't know how. I wish sometimes I would, because there's certain points in my life where I was like, if I would have just been quiet and drank the Kool-Aid, I would have been further down the road. But I can't. And I'm sorry. I can't. My vibranium is to be different. It's something in me that can't be like everything else. And it bothers me sometimes. And I always know that there's always a way. I don't know how it's going to show up, but I always know it's going to be a way. Yeah, vibranium. And here's the other piece too. I know that we all have it. I don't care what, I know we're talking about African-American history, but we all are interconnected with that. I know that. It's just like, who was I talking to? Yesterday we had a friend here and we were talking about being able to see people. Like I can look at people and be like, that person is not from here, but there's a connection. Even though you're not from here, that there's a connection. I hope this makes some type of sense. But it's always being able to look at things. Everything's a constant moving item. It's nothing, it's no such thing as a constant, I guess. It's always ever changing. And my vibranium is that I'm always tapped into that changing. And sometimes it's very scary because you feel like you're by yourself with that. Anybody who's has any questions of us who's in any of the guests? Anybody? What does it? Let me ask y'all this. Y'all have questions about that vibranium? Does it make sense?
For the guess, right?
Yeah.
Has no one ever asked you that question before?
Me?
Have you never think about what your vibranium has been?
No. I mean, for me,
For you.
nah. It for me, when I came up with that question for vibranium, it was just because a cartoon made this one item that everybody has, that I believe that everybody has, that only it comes from a special place, and we're all connected to that special place, but something along the way pulls us out of that. If that makes any sense. It pulls us out of that you know, that superpower. Everybody has a superpower, but a lot of people walk through here acting like they don't know it, or they've been taught that they don't have it because everything's made to be sourced by themselves.
But even coming up with the questions, did you think about your vibranium?
Not really.
Can I jump in here real quick, John?
Yeah.
Last night, and this is kind of like a side note between me and John.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna share it. Last night you pulled something and you sent it to me.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say this to you. Right now, in this moment, you are exactly where you need to be. All I'm gonna say. Ashe.
So everybody, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and tell because she brought it in here. I don't mind because I don't have any. So I'm beginning to study, Alex, and Alex said it's the program. Yeah, it's the program that keeps people from their vibranium. I understand it, and I guess I'm a program virus, because I think I've come to break the program so people can tap into their own vibranium. I think that's and I guess that might answer Demetrius what she was asking me, because I think that's at the core of it, and being able to maneuver around it. But I drew this card, and I don't know if it's at the top of my deck. I got this new deck of tarot cards I'm going to show you guys, and it's called Metaphysic Cannabis. People in most of my groups now pull cards before I started, and this is the card. And I drew the Devil card. Well, I've been doing tarot forever, and I've never fucking had that card for me, ever. And I was like, it was late at night. It was late, and I was thinking about what this class was going to be about. And here it is. Let me see if you guys can see it. Okay. So I shuffled the deck, and it fell out. And I was like, when I saw it, I was like, ah! So I looked at it, I was like, the one card to change it all. I was like, let me leave this alone. And I was laughing at it, and I took a picture and I sent it to Vanessa and to Tori. And I was just like, oh my God. And then Vanessa shared me something like something shifting, it's being open. And it's everything. So in Access, we have a saying that everything's opposite of what it appears to be. And this card is definitely that card. You know, I had this one mindset of what it's being like, oh, da-da-da-da, you know, but it's a da-da-da-da on a different type of setting. And that's the history about that what she shared with me about that information. Did that make sense to people? Y'all get that?
I cannot know it. I mean, I guess I must have missed it. What's the card mean?
Vanessa?
Okay, so ironically enough, the Devil card is a card of us being, and I'm just kind of get cozy here, y'all. Got my shoes off, my golden milk. I'm good. So the devil card in tarot represents us willingly engaging in activities, ideas, thought patterns, behaviors, people, relationships that don't necessarily serve our best purpose, our highest purpose. Okay. And when the devil card comes up, like I was telling John, sometimes spirit will whisper to us, hey, we should try something different. Hey, we need to look at this differently. Hey, and there'll be a gentle whisper. You ever get a gentle nudge and you just flap it away? Oh, I'm having too much of a good time. I'm loving my mindset. I'm loving the thing that I'm doing. This feels good to my body. It feels good to my taste buds. I'm just gonna stay right here for a moment. And so we swat that little, hey, this may not be the best for you. We swat it away. If we continue to swat away the whispers, the next thing spirit has no option to do but to give you a shout. And the very next card after the devil card is the tower card. And that's when things kind of crumble. That's when our foundation gets shaken. We get an emotional or spiritual earthquake. And then we have to rebuild because what we thought we had is now a crumbled mess. It's so incomplete that we cannot put it back together again. And so for me, the devil card is that last final beckoning to look at life differently, to approach life differently. And so in regards to the devil card and what's going on right now in this moment is John was challenged, right? John's asking these questions, he's facilitating and doing a great job. In the midst of all that, John got challenged to challenge, maybe the way he thinks about certain things or the way he thinks about his own powers and ability. He got challenged, and he's having a breakthrough moment. Like this was a beautiful setting for it. And I told him last night, I said, and I think I sent you in the text message, and I hate to go so private and so deep with you on this public spectrum, but I think it's so important for people to understand that we are all connected. And as mighty as John is, because John is very mighty, John grows and learns and elevates just like the rest of us, okay? And so, and I think that's the important piece here to grasp. But John's having a breakthrough, and things are not going to go back to the way they were for him after this breakthrough for him. He's coming out of his cocoon. He's emerging, right? And we go through many cocoons in life, right? And so he's emerging out as this beautiful butterfly, and we're gonna learn so much from you. We're going to glean so much from you. We are going to just sit at, and I keep telling you this, John, we are going to be sitting at your feet. And maybe that's what this is about, because we've had this conversation before. We are going to be sitting at your feet and gleaming and learning from you and growing from you and glowing with you, growing and glowing. And
Thank you.
Ashe.
So consciousness, this is consciousness. This is consciousness. This is consciousness. Being willing to receive information from all different aspects of life, from the Quran, the Bible, the tarot, Ifa, the temples, access. That's consciousness. And anytime you start to hear something that wants to separate one out and make one better than that, that's anti-consciousness. And I've asked these people to come. I'm having them talk a little bit about more what they do, because I woke up one day and I realized that everybody around me is great. I don't hang out with no poop butts. And if you ask anybody on here, the four people that Leah on here has known me since she was like 12. Okay, I'm calling Leah out. I've known, when I was the youth minister, when I first moved, I've known Leah the longest. But nobody I fuck with are poop butts. I just don't, I mean, I don't know what that is. I mean, Alex, even the people at work with, I mean, I don't talk, I mean, I don't know how to say it. And what I'm saying is because for me, consciousness seeks greatness. And part of it is trying to instill greatness to people that are around me, but they have to see the greatness in themselves too. And that's the consciousness of it. And it's like, and when Vanessa said that, and my wife said that before, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I don't want, I coming out of that cocoon, like I don't, Maureen, who helps put me together all this stuff for me, it's just like, sometimes it's like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. And I'm beginning to accept that if not you, then who? And I'm not only saying that for me, I'm saying that for everybody to screen. Where are you waiting for somebody to bring more consciousness where you already are the source? That's it. Consciousness to me, in one word, is source. You source. Your source. And that is what will create. And even to the point that, like, when Maureen and I were talking, and when we were talking about this African-American history, I was like, you know, nobody likes to talk about race and access consciousness. And I was like, why the fuck did I come in this body then? If nothing's wrong and nothing's right, and what do I know about consciousness with race? The last thing I had, and then I was gonna let you guys talk about whether is the science of DNA is that everybody on the screen, I don't care how much melanin or lack of melanin you have, your origin starts, your DNA starts in that continent, just like all dogs come from wolves. Nobody argues about that. We all know that all dogs, I believe, Alexander, I believe all dogs come from wolves. Even that Chihuahua.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm almost certain I got somebody gave me that information, that and meaning that the genius of it comes from origin, which speaks to the oneness. And consciousness, the lack of consciousness, starts to separate and make. Has everybody just thought about most features, biological features on people's body deals with biology and climate, where they come from? That's the sole purpose. Do people realize that shit?
So what about my peanut head? Where does that come from?
You eat too many peanuts, maybe. I don't know.
Can you talk more about that, John? Can you elaborate more about that?
No, so with the origins of people.
Yeah.
Origins of people. I mean, I'm almost positive it's Dr. Leakey. So from my understanding is that when they were trying to figure out where the original people came from, they went to Asia and they found they found some bones or something there, and then they went to Europe, and the very last place they went to was Eastern Africa, and they found some of the oldest bones. And then when they did then when they started doing this this you and me DNA, whatever that is, DNA stuff, they found that everybody, when you look at it, they have a portion of some type of African. It could be like a point something percentage, but you still have that point percentage of African. Just like wolves, if you go on the DNA of a German Shepherd or any other dog, they have that DNA together, which creates that oneness. You can't, we spend more time trying to do separation than we do oneness. And everybody has guilt in that. Now, I'm not, here's the piece. Me and Alex Works Corrections, are they full of shit? And are they an institution of sickness? Yes. I'm not denying that. But if you really start talking about stuff, you got to start getting really deep and talking about some other stuff that me and Alex talked about. Then you have to look at the source of the people and the violence that's going on in certain communities. All violence usually created by people of the same grouping, because we don't really blend that much. We think we do, but we don't blend that much. Maybe more than now we do. But if you find violence in Germany, you're going to find Germany against Germans having violence against Germans because they live with Germans. Occasionally, you have the outside where you have Palestinians and Israelites. But on a whole, it takes a lot of energy to do separation. And one of the things that I realize is that you have to buy off into it. And the conversation, the people that I'm invited for this weekend to speak to you guys, we have deep ass conversations about that. And I want that to come out to this group so people can start sharing and feeling more comfortable with having dialogues. Don't let it stop here. Continue the conversation. And if people don't want to have it, that's cool. Interesting point of view. I'm to that point right now that it's just like, I don't know. I know that I'm gonna always do consciousness because that's what I love, but I don't know how I'm gonna do it. But I'm not gonna stop knowing what I know because of somebody else feeling uncomfortable with it. That's not happening no more. I'm 59, I'm a grown ass man. Shit, sound like a song, huh? Anyway. Anyway, yes, y'all sung, I'm old in music, but anyway. So I guess my next question for y'all, for my two guests, everybody good? We got a little bit, almost 30 minutes. Any questions from the crowd? Y'all good? This is moving smoothly for you? Okay. Alex and Vanessa, what do you know that will improve Earth? What do you all know that's going to improve Earth?
Intention.
Intention, say more.
Good intention, man. Energy, you know, that good intention. I think, I mean, that falls in line with consciousness. The consciousness is gonna maneuver all barriers, right?
Mhm.
And I believe that someday, I don't know when, but someday that the good intentions that people are actually setting, like, you know, it's one thing to say, I'm gonna do something, just haphazardly, right? But it's another thing to say, I'm gonna do something. And you really made an intention to do it. The same thing works with any good intention. I think the energy is eventually gonna, like, at some point, the universe is pretty big. The earth is big too. But I think that intentions are gonna like loop around, form a little circuit at some point. I probably won't be here to see it. But one day I truly believe, like, on earth, everybody is gonna wake up with the same consciousness one day because of good intentions that were here way before they wake up, in my opinion. I think good intentions are going to always make the world better, but we're always going to contend with that. You know, bad relationships. We're going to always have to contend with judgment and prejudice and stuff like that. But I think good intentions can go a real long way from a spiritual and conscious aspect.
Vanessa?
Yes. You said something, I was hoping you would stay there for a moment, but then you went on to something else. But you said, why did I come in this Black body? And I'm probably paraphrasing, if race don't matter. Like, why you asked, why did I show up in this body? And I would love for you to touch more on that. But for me, I'm gonna say oneness, which is for us to start seeing each other as you've been saying these last few minutes, as oneness. We all come from one source.
Yeah.
And the separation, the judgment, the categorizing, the different isms and all the things are what's killing this planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really want to get to a place in my in my reality. And I don't have the answer right now, like how to even get here, but I'm working on it. I'm gonna have to raise it up a bit to get there. But how do I not let race become a factor in the things that I do, the way that I think, the activities I involve myself in? How do I move away from that? You know, and even my language, you know, how do I move away from race being such a huge factor? And it's crazy because you turn on the news and you're constantly seeing another Black man shot by the cops, or what, and this recent situation that happened with Tyree. Am I saying his name right?
Tyree Nichols.
Yes. I think that was an eye opener because those were Black cops, not white cops.
Mhm.
And so that connects us with, it's not necessary. and it's hard to say this again because of my own programming. It's not a race issue. It's a human issue that we're dealing with.
So, so I'll go back to what I was going to say about in this
Okay.
body.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
And the vibranium. I don't think the people of Wakanda understood the power of vibranium. Most of the people at the top did, and they kind of hid it. But I think a lot of people don't know who they are. And if you don't know who you are and you don't know your worth, you lose sight of what you can create. Being embodied this way is a choice. This is I'm gonna be real personal. I believe that everybody came here. I chose to be an African-American male this lifetime. I'm like Alex. This spacesuit this time looks like this. Kind of good suit though. I got you if you have to admit, so but I chose this, and with this comes a set of possibilities that I can navigate in that somebody else can't navigate in because of my choice that I made before and what I knew. And my knowing in this embodiment, I can do certain things that other people can't do. It's not that I'm better than the next person, but I can do it because what I came with and the tools that I have this time. I don't have to get stuck in that. And I'm not saying, and see, the first thing I would tell people, you want to get around race, you have to learn how to expand. As my brother Alex said, the Milky Way is one galaxy out of a billion. If you stay small or tight knit, you can't see the other galaxies. Once you get outside the galaxies and expand yourself, then you can make other choices, even against those who try to program you to not make those choices. That's consciousness. And it's hard to believe because now you're going to start talking about magic, and they've put certain things in the design in certain, and I'm going to say this, people don't get mad at me, in certain things with religion where most people can't even find in the Bible where Christ said there will be those who come after me who do greater deeds than myself. They stop with Christ being it. He told them when he was living, there's my Father has more, and man, don't even let me go there. But anyway, my point of it is, and the other piece of it is that last Sunday, I went to a church and I spoke at a church, and this one guy was talking about, isn't it ironic that most people who find themselves Christians don't realize that Jesus were the people that we grow to hate from the Middle East right now? He was an Arab Jew. All the Christians and all the Christians who want to bomb and go after the Middle East, if Christ was standing there, you couldn't tell the difference between him and them because that's what he looked. And that's the programming. That's the programming. And until you get outside the program and this race thing, when you don't talk about it, you talk about it because it permeates. That's what I noticed in this body this time. When you don't talk about it, it actually fucking vibrates a lot. It is that secret vibranium, the lack of being able to talk about it. And only those who have that, who have consciousness, can dismantle that. Because the other parties can't see it. They can't see it. And the choice, and it's like this. If I was saying in the class that I taught, in the money class earlier that I taught, if you choose not to be able to see somebody or be able to say something, I think I was having that, where is my sister Ann? If you can't say fuck you, John, then there's a point where you shut down a choice of not saying that because, oh, I think this person's great, I don't want to do this to this person. Whenever you get to the point where you can't talk to something or speak to something or say something, you actually are out of choice. You're fucking out of choice. And you walk, or you act like a camel or an ostrich, or not a camel, ostrich with his head in the sand. Oh God, I want to see that because I've never fucking seen it. But that saying just fucks with me. Who puts their head in the sand? Anyway, can you breathe down there? Anyway, it's like a head up your ass. You can't really breathe like that. But my point of it is that by design, or whatever design it is, consciousness is free flowing. You have to choose it. And by choosing this body this time, I chose to come with these tools to be able to go places that, like, my spaceship can go to Mars, Venus, and Jupiter. Alex maybe hit some other planets in other galaxy, but with those, it's certain things I can see there that he won't be able to see, and he can see certain things I can't see. And there's no wrongness in that, but you have to be willing to at least have that conversation with it. You can't ignore it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But I don't want us to speed bump over what Vanessa just brought up and you just brought up too. We're gonna talk about it, we gotta talk about it.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's that when we talk about race,
yeah.
right? I think every one of us need to do a review or a reflection of our consciousness. Like, where are we with the consciousness, right? Because sometimes you may have people that are like super conscious, or like very spiritual, but then they go into areas and they get buried into that stuff, right? So it's like this contradiction that's happening all the time. So kind of like what Vanessa says, like, how do you do that? Personal story. When I started my business 3 years ago, something came over me because, we was in them rooms
Yeah, yeah.
programming. And one day I woke up, I was like, man, I can't put my face on remember that? I was like, I can't
Yeah.
put my face on my business. And my wife like, man, what the hell's wrong with you? I was like, I can't do it because if I put my face on the business, I'm not going to get any business because this is a white dominated industry. There are no Black firearms instructor within 200, 300 miles of here, right? And I'm thinking, I went through this for 2 weeks. My wife shaking me literally every day, like, bro, you got to wake up. What's going on? So I've never acted like that until then. And I thought to myself, goes back to what Vanessa said about creating your own reality, right? I was like, wait a minute. I can only control what I can control. What I'm hearing and maybe even seeing is not even my real reality right now, right?
Absolutely.
So if someone is telling me, I like to say the boogeyman, I'm not saying that race doesn't exist or racism doesn't exist. It's just that I don't choose to focus on it in my personal life every single day. So if I took a statement from LeBron James says police are killing people, Black men, every day at alarming rate, I would never go outside, right? I would never pursue business opportunity. I mean, I got a family, I got a business to run. Like, how can I walk around and think this in my head when it's just lowering my vibration every single day, right? Once I let go of that, oh man, the sky was the limit. The opportunities came from everywhere, Black, white, any place I can find them, they were coming. But I had to let go of that mindset. So it's not saying that racism doesn't exist and it's not important. It's for me, my own personal life, like what happens 100% of the time in my life. That's what I have to focus on because like Vanessa said, you're creating your own reality. And if all I do is show up to spaces that's gonna be very dramatic, all the crying, all the trauma, then guess what's gonna happen to me? My consciousness is gonna be dim too. Not saying I wouldn't go in those spaces anymore, but I know for a fact that if I don't release that, I can't go anywhere. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're staying in the box. And some people, and to be honest, to talk about it, I've been called a sellout. Uncle Tom, I've been called all kind of stuff just because of that thought process. And I'm saying it's not that it's not important. It's just that, it's kind of one of those things like I'll use an employer. I won't say the name because we're in public. I don't want them to come back and, anyways, I'll just mess with you. But, you got people that really, really go in and say how oppression, right? We think about oppression and how that affects the human soul, right? Oppression. But when people look at their actual lives, their day to day, you're not going to find much oppression, right? Now, there's a general, like, they say white supremacy and all this stuff, but the actual oppression that they face in their actual lives is not even a smidget of what oppression actually is. Now, I know people are going to debate this. You guys can ask as many questions as you want. I'm just giving you my perspective on it, right? So when they walk into a room, there's something else. When they leave out of that room, there's something else. And that's why I think that's the most frustrating part for you, John, is like, you want people to be great. You want people to access this consciousness, but they have not let go of some of those things that's keeping them in that box and in that rut. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah. And I realized that you can't do anything until they're willing to let that go.
Right.
They have to let it go. And I mean, we've had conversations, I have multiple conversations with people on the screen about that, until somebody's willing to let something go, they can't pick. I mean, and it's like not being in denial of what's going on. Like some of the meetings that I think that Alex make a reference to, people like come in there like oppression. And it is, but if you make that the main entree of your life, you're going to get stuck with that because you're not leaving space for something else to be able to show up in that space. And that is not denying it.
Alana has a question.
Go ahead, Alana. Go ahead, sister. Your mic's off.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thanks. I actually don't have a question. I don't know what I did. I was listening enthusiastically and I sent a heart because I was just like loving what I was hearing, but no, please just keep going. Thank you for
Okay.
calling on me, but I don't have a question.
Okay, no problem. Vanessa, did you have something with Alex was saying?
Yes, thank you, Alex, for that. I appreciate it. Thank you, John, as well. I think, and here's me being vulnerable and transparent. Programming. What are we feeding our souls? Like, what's the first thing we do when we wake up in the morning? Are we flipping through Facebook, Instagram, reading the news? I think that's my biggest junkie right there is I read the news a lot. And I could easily blame it on my mother, she, that would be the easy way out. But again, the Hierophant's coming up for me because those are systems that are put in place. But as we grow, so those are systems that are put in place during childhood, but as we grow, we get to decide what our reality is. And do we want to attach ourselves to those old systems, those old beliefs, right? My mother was raised by her grandmother, and they were avid warriors. They worried a lot. They watched the news, and whatever they heard, they saw, they worried a lot. And that got passed down to my mother, and she did her best to pass it down to me as well, which is fine. No shade toward her. She was just doing what had been done, right? And so here comes me along. And okay, so now I get to make a choice. I first of all, I get to be in awareness that I can make a choice. Some of us are stuck and are aware that we can make choices outside of what we've known, okay, and what's been taught to us and embedded in us. So I can make a choice, and I can decide what am I going to do with my time. What am I going to allow to feed my soul? And I think that's my biggest hang up is I'm on the news too much. Google too much, checking out what's going on. I'm super interested in what's happening around me, right? And so I think a lot of that comes from, me, recreating what I'm hearing, what I'm learning, what I'm reading, what I'm seeing. And so we're talking about how we can melt the pot of racism and not racism, but looking at things from another lens. And that's where I'm at right now. And my particular journey is really wanting to look at things from another lens. And it is having an impact on my business. I will admit that. And so that's something I definitely want to look into and really do some shadow work around for myself, because like I said, we're all growing and learning. There's no point to where we've mastered, we're at the top of the mountain, we've got it. No, we're here. This earth is our school, and we're here to learn. And we get put in situations and events and relationships so that we can grow and we can learn from them. So yes, I want to thank you both, Alex and John, for, elaborating on this issue, because it has been an anchor for me for most of my life.
Yeah. And I think that's, like you said, it's the programming. It's like when Alex, and here's the funny thing. I had the same conversation with Alex about when you and I spoke about putting your face on your business. Later on that same day, I had a conversation with Vanessa about how she has to show up and do tarot when you were at some type of conference in Portland. You said you went there and you were like, how am I going to be able to do this with white people? Am I going to be able to do the same? And it's a programming that it's kind of amazing that you guys have the tools already to expand beyond that and not get stuck there. Because when you talk about doing business with certain people, the question with it is, once you get beyond realizing that I am everybody, then I can work with everybody. I am everybody. I mean, if you come to my house, if you go on my music and you look at my music, anybody who knows me be like, well, yeah, his #1 go-to band is George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic. But does everybody know that I know every lyric to Elton John? I'm not, and I don't proclaim to be just that one-dimensional type of dude. And because of that, I think that I'm willing, and I have my own things, because I've had that conversation with Maureen and Tori about, well, how do I cross over and do more things and access some people, and I'm like, well, just simply being, and I said this to our money group, the biggest thing that I wish I could give people is the gift of learning how to relax into shit. Because if you truly learn how to relax, you take a deep breath and you back away from something that seems to be difficult. And when you come back to it, it might be different by you just taking space.
Now, can I add on to that?
Yeah.
It comes down to programming and culture essentially. I was hearing what you're saying about how Vanessa may have some, barriers or challenges with, how am I going to do this with white people or whatever, right? I had a call. You guys remember the recent shooting that happened? God, where was that when the guy killed? He shot those people in that gay club.
Oh yeah.
Like the most recent one.
It wasn't in
And
Colorado.
I think it was Colorado. And the next day, my phone was ringing off the hook, bro, like off the hook. And everybody that called, they asked me this question, and it was like, I was kind of heartbroken. I was like, damn. The first thing they asked me was like, hey, my name is such and such. Do you work with people in the LGBTQ community? And I was like, what? I was kind of like, what do you, in my head, I'm like, what do you, yeah, of course, but it made me think, I felt sorry for that they were actually asking me that question. I'm like, what would possess a person to think? And I'm thinking culture, right? And programming.
Mhm.
So when it goes back to, kind of what we're saying, me, you, Vanessa, it's like, it all goes back to oneness, right? I think
Mhm.
you said it, with everybody. So like, if I know that I'm going to have something to give to someone, it's not for certain individuals, right? If I know I have a gift, I need to make sure it's my obligation that I give it to other people, right? And once we understand that it's our obligation to give that gift to everybody, whoever comes, right? If people don't come, that's fine. But if they come, we have to give them the gift. And once we have that perspective of everything is one, it don't matter if you white, you black, because most 98.99% of the people that I work with are white, right? So it doesn't matter, as long as you have the intention and you want to give your gift, not so much like, well, what are black people gonna think? What are white people gonna think? It's like, I have a gift. The creator has given me this gift. It's your gift. You're conscious about it, and you have to go forth with, you have to bust down the wall of all the other bullshit that's out there. And I guarantee you, the universe is going to talk back quickly, going to talk back real quickly. You're going to start getting opportunities. You're going to see things that you probably never even imagined, because I've experienced that, right? So I just wanted to share that, like, the LGBTQ, that hit me hard. I was like telling my wife, like, why would someone ask me that based on my business, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I just wanted to share that with the group. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, we're coming up to the last 10 minutes, 9 minutes now. I want to make sure that people, I believe it might be in the email that people received when they registered, but how do they get in contact with you guys if they want to connect with you for your services or talk further? Or Vanessa?
I just put my information in the chat, but I'll say it too. So my business is called Rooted, ROOTED, 2 Spirit, SPIRIT.com. And you can go onto the website and you can see all my services that I offer, some classes, some workshops. I think John just finished up a workshop with me there. So yeah, there's lots of opportunity on there for you to get in touch with me. All of my readings are via Zoom. So no matter where you are in the world, you can set one up and you schedule via your own time zone. So there's no miscommunication about timing. So yeah, so look forward to connecting with some of you or all of you. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. Thank you, John.
Yeah. And Alex?
Yeah, I put some information in there on my website, Instagram, Facebook. You can also go on YouTube. Everything is under Jones Firearms Coaching. And don't be afraid. I know the conversation has come up and it's a big conversation about firearms. And I'll say this to kind of end it off. One of the biggest conversations is about, gun control and all this, but my focus when I have these conversations is on the African-American community a lot, because we have some things that we have to think about, right? We have a white supremacy umbrella that people are telling us we should be worried about, but then they don't want to provide, or they say we shouldn't have the means to protect ourselves. And then also we got to protect ourselves from ourselves at the end of the day. So I know firearms can be very intimidating to people, but if you look at it from a different perspective, if you can get a different perspective and lens, I encourage you to do that. I'm open. I teach group classes, private lessons. I even come to people's home that like to book private firearms safety training and education as well. So yeah, just wanted to put that out there. Thank you, John, so much for having me on this platform, man. I really appreciate it. I wish we can go longer, but I know we're running out of time. So thank you so much. Thanks everybody for being here.
Yeah. And everybody knows how to get in contact with me, www.beingjohnashford.com. I really appreciate Vanessa and Alex. You could tell the wealth of a person by the people they surround themselves. And so I'm probably the wealthiest person on planet Earth right now. And if this was something that you like, we have 2 more days of this. So please, please, please pass this on to people. If you think this was a good conversation, you think there's something, you learned something, please pass this on to other people that might be of interest. We got tomorrow, same time, same back channel, and then next Sunday we close off at the exact same time. This is just a brainchild of mine, brain fart. I'm not saying brainchild, brain fart of mine, and there's going to be other things that I'm gonna come up with to continue different conversations like this throughout the year. Anything else I'm forgetting, team?
Is this going to be the same link or what?
What's that?
Is this going to be the same link or what?
Yeah, the same link. It's the same link. Maureen, are you with us? I believe it's the exact same link. I think, yeah, because whenever you register, if you go and you register, yeah, it's the same link for the team, the people like Demetrius. Demetrius is next Sunday. So, but it's the same link that we use for the team. But then once you have somebody register, they'll get the links for the additional class. Does that make sense? Or if you're already on here, you can use the same link for tomorrow.
Okay, good. That's what I
Yeah,
want to know.
that's
Thank you,
my
buddy.
fault. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Can I say something before we close out?
Yes.
John, I just want to say I am in awe of you. You called us up and you said, I have an idea. There is something burning inside of me. I want to roll this out. And the next thing I know, I'm blinking 3 times and you done rolled it out.
Well, I have to say thank you, Vanessa, but I have a team behind me that helps me out with pushing this out. So first I want to mention Maureen was on it. I sat down after I spoke to you and she was like, well, let's put this together. And then the rest of the team, people, Leah, Ann, Kate, and Tori, start pushing this out. So and sometimes I'll share this with you. Sometimes when I look at the screen, I was like, man, there should be more people on here, but not true. People only can be present if they're willing to be present with something. And I realize this is not for everybody, because it's easy to talk about, now I'm here, I'm not dogging nobody. It's easy to talk about relationship. It's easy to talk about money. But when you talk about shit that makes your butt curdle, that's a skill. And people ain't gonna jump into that because of all of the wrongness or rightness that they have going on in their cranium. So I appreciate y'all being here. Please pass this on to everybody else that you think that might be able to benefit and contribute to this. Thank you, Maureen, again. And see y'all tomorrow. Peace.
Thanks, John. Peace, y'all. Thanks.
Thank you.
You.
Oh, wait. It's also going to be on Zoom. This will be on, not Zoom. This will be on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Peace.